You got your dancing shoes on, Baron?
Oh, wow. So, this week we are talking about Emma. It's not this week. We've done a couple this week. This episode we're talking about Emma from MIFF, Melbourne International Film Festival, the 68 and a half there's a weird word, half edition. And we are at home, not enjoying the full festival in all its glory, but we are loving this digital-only festival still, I think.
Apparently everyone is.
Yeah? Really?
I read or heard that somewhere that it's like everyone just loves it, this virtual MIFF.
Well, there's something to it, right? And we, at some point, will tell everyone, but so I'm just going to do it now. In some weeks to come, we're going to be doing the Austin Film Festival, which for the first time ever, we're going to be able to tune in for a pretty low price, get access to the entire film collection for the festival, and there's options for conferences and all of the panels that come with the festival as well for people who want to go that way, which is pretty special. No traveling to Texas this time.
Yeah, Austin, here we come virtually.
Yeah,
can't wait. But on to today, Emma by director Pablo Larraín.
Emma, the closing night film of the festival. Another spotlight big deal film where you get 5 hours in which you can watch it.
Yeah, on that, firstly, I used every one of my 5 hours, every minute. I got to the end of the film and I was racing against it, and I'm looking to see how many minutes left, and it was virtually, when the credits rolled, it cut out.
This does not sound promising for the closing night film that you stretched it out over 5 hours.
No, I didn't take 5 hours to watch it. I just left it to the...
You just left it to the last minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, don't read anything into that.
You didn't start it and then wait 4 hours and then watch the remaining part?
No, I watched it through and I liked it.
Okay. That's a ringing endorsement right there. You liked it. It was all right.
How do you want to start?
I feel the same way, honestly. There were things that I liked about this film, and there was a lot that I found troubling.
Troubling
in terms of just the way it was done. I just didn't go for all of it. So
okay.
I feel it's a very mixed bag for me. But I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Yeah, me too. Because while I might have given a lukewarm response with I liked it, I really quite liked it. This had a lot of good points for me, so I'm thinking maybe I've enjoyed it more than you is my first
it sounds
instinct.
that way. Okay. Well, so shall we do a synopsis? Is that where we should start?
I think we should. It's not going to be an easy synopsis.
No, it's another one of those.
Yeah, so who
I think you should do it.
Oh, you're such a gentleman.
Sounds clearly like it should be your one for you, Doc.
Okay. Well, a synopsis of the insynopsible. I think you've kind of got to extricate the synopsis from this film, don't you? Because it's not linear in any way. So the whole film is trying to catch up to the plot line. But I'll have a crack. It starts with this couple. They're the central figures, Emma and Gaston. Emma played by Mariana di Girolamo. And Gaston played by the better known Gael Garcia Bernal. So yes. She's a dancer. He's the choreographer. He's 12 years older, so he's cradle snatched her at some stage. They've not been able to have kids due to him being infertile. So they've adopted. And then the big controversy is you, by degrees, end up realising that they've given away their adopted child. So they've adopted him, and then they've thrown their hands up and said, no, we don't want him anymore, or some version of that.
Yeah.
Their relationship is all on the rocks, and Emma decides to go on this crazy adventure to get her son back. And that involves... What does it involve? My goodness.
Pyromania?
It involves pyromania. It involves tracking down the new parents of the kid, Polo, and seducing both parents,
Separately,
weaving
individually.
separately, individually, weaving them both into her web, getting a job at the school where her son now is, and stealing him, and then basically convincing everyone to end in a polyamorous situation.
Yes, it looked that way, right? It looked and they were all just housing in together and doing all the stuff together as a group. Crazy.
Yes, look, that'll do for my synopsis. I know that's pretty ordinary, but it covers the main points for me.
It does. It absolutely does.
It doesn't cover the meandering, disjointed, non-linear nature of that story.
No. But we'll talk about that. We shall cover that next. So we've already started talking a little bit about how we feel about this film. I was troubled with a lot of the things that I think you brought up in the synopsis. Just the ins and outs and the twists and turns of this story are quite meandering. And there are, you brought them up. There are great major plot points to hang things on that are, quite good twists and turns. But just the way that they present them is in such a sort of almost lazy way of just like, oh yeah, and then that happened in the middle of all the other meanderings. You sort of get, I don't know. It doesn't feel like a lot's happening, even though there is quite a bit going on.
Yeah, I interpret it, or maybe not interpret it, but my response to it is completely different.
Yeah,
I thought it was a genius way to structure the film. It was like there were little mini mysteries all through relating to the plot. So at first you don't know where the relationships lie, and then you gradually work out what the relationship is. Then you don't know what the tension between them is, and you gradually work out it's the kid that's been adopted. And then you don't know why she's meeting with the lawyer, and then you realize there's an ulterior motive to that. And that's the structure all through. And it's once you latch on to that way of storytelling, I think it's quite innovative, and you're then constantly looking for as each act starts, I guess, you're looking for the clues and then trying to solve the clues to get to that plot point.
Yeah, that's a good point.
A mysterious way to make a film.
It's not very conventional in a lot of ways, this film. And I guess we should also mention that a huge part of this film is that it's kind of like a dance performance at the same time, right? There's a lot of sequences cut in that are just music and dance, and the music's like that kind of synthesized.
Reggaeton.
Yeah, they call it reggaeton, right? But it's kind of like half electro synths sort of stuff, and it's quite engaging. Like the music's is pretty great, and as a score against this backdrop, it works really, really well. Particularly because all the young people in it, all the dancers are all kind of dressed in this Euro trash style. Like they've got sort of crop tops and their bright colors and Adidas tracksuit pants and all that sort of stuff going on, right? And they've all got like crazy haircuts and dyed hair and all that.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there. There's a lot to take in with this film.
Yeah, and it's exhausting sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
You really have to be on your game, and you're trying to decode all of the time. And when you're not trying to decode, you're just trying to keep up with that frenetic energy of the dancing and
that's right.
The outrageousness of the characters, and you can rarely pinpoint even a character, can you? Like Emma, for example. You spend the whole film trying to work her out, and you still don't at the end.
Yeah,
really.
That's true. I know, she's very mysterious through and through. The other thing, I mean, and I suppose, yeah, that's right. You learn, it's almost like she's this mysterious, very hard to read core in the center of the film, and all of the characters around her are the ones who are being changed. She's just sort of relentlessly driving through on this goal, and she doesn't deviate much from it at all. In fact, you get the sense that this was her plan the whole time, in a way. But everyone around her is just getting their lives completely shaken up and turned upside down.
Yeah, and it's not just changed; it's manipulated.
Right.
She is the puppet master manipulating everybody, with aided by her bevy of psychosexual sisters.
Like a really dark, twisted Spice Girls.
Yeah, they're like a swarm or a she-wolf pack or something.
Yeah, that's right.
They really, when they all get together, they're quite intimidating, because when she's doing her seductions, both of the mother lawyer and the father fireman, they're included in both of those, aren't they? It's like a, gang seduction.
Yes, I know. It seems like they're across the whole plan with her. And there's even a point in the film where they're all hanging out under a lamplight of a dark street or something, and one of them says, "If you want us to commit a crime, we're ready." You know, so like they seem to be in all the way. She's won them over somehow.
Yeah, it's like for them, it's all just another dance, isn't it? Like, because a dance is this swarming mass of bodies all coordinated in a way, and then they take that into the real world and are dancing through it.
It's that same wildness with coordination happening at the heart of it. And she has this weird, strong, like overly strong seductive ability to just win everybody over to her side with seemingly no effort, which is, I found a little like, we were being asked to sort of suspend our disbelief a little bit, because I just, you look at the actor playing these sorts of roles, and you have to believe it. And I was I was maybe 60% there with her. I thought she did a fine job, but I couldn't quite make that leap to here's the master manipulator of all these people.
Some of those scenes I found really interesting to watch, though, whether you believe them or not, because there were quite a few that were just, like a lot of the film, oddly disconcerting. When she seduces the lawyer, it's just odd, and you can't believe what has happened with the scene. Similarly with the principal, similarly with the shrink. When she's doing that test and she kind of turns the tables on him a little bit. Yeah,
definitely.
And obviously with the fiery guy. Yeah, I get that sometimes that didn't make sense, but I enjoyed just the, how it was portrayed.
And one thing I was thinking about afterwards is this is kind of a heist film, which is which is crazy, because the film really has nothing in common with a heist film except for this sort of central, like, none of the tropes are there, but there's this central kind of idea of we are going to get Polo back no matter what, and there's a plan involved. But there's no scene where they all sit down and go, okay, you're going there, you're going to do that, and the clock's ticking, so we've got to be there before this happens. None of there's none of that normal heist film stuff. While it's got that thread running through it, there's nothing else about it that says heist film, and it's probably actually more of a psychological something or other. Not quite a thriller either.
Yeah, and there's no, in order for that scene where you get the gang together, all the best guys to do the heist, any scene resembling that is missing from the narrative structure anyway, because there's no setup ever.
No, you're just always guessing.
You're always guessing. So if they had that scene, it would come after anyway.
You're right. It would be a huge reveal at the end, and you would see sort of this lady with blonde hair and black glasses just like disappearing in the background of all these scenes while she describes how she set all the pieces in motion.
Yeah. Kevin Spacey, Usual Suspects style.
Exactly. How did you find that blonde hair, by the way? It's just such an intense style. I kind of hated it a little bit, honestly. There was something about it.
Well, it was hard to look at, like the whole film. It was just
like the rest of the film. Yeah.
It was it made you work.
Sure did.
You had that bigger reaction to it that it's in one of your dot points to mention.
It's not in a dot point, but it just popped into my head because yes, it did really bother me. I kept looking at the hairline and how sort of pasted back it was and how blonde it was, and it didn't. I don't think it looks good. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not it's just not a good hairstyle. And to put that on your lead actress, who is this character is the seductress of everybody else in the film, I thought was an unusual choice. But there's a lot in this film that's like that, really.
Yeah, while she was a seductress within the confines of the film, I don't think she was meant to be a seductress to us as the audience. Like, I've often been critical of that sort of thing as well. Like, if you've got someone who's meant to be alluring in a role, you kind of want them to be, as the audience. You want to
have to legitimately pull the audience in that way as well.
Yeah. When that's done well, is like Great Expectations, when Gwyneth Paltrow is the main character, so the whole audience understands why she's so alluring.
Yeah. Everyone's like, yeah, I'd do her.
Yeah, exactly. And this one is just different, and I think it's more, maybe more real. I don't know.
It is probably more real. Yeah. I mean, what she does have is that sort of intense certainty that you come across in some people that you meet, and you get off her this huge amounts of confidence, and that's attractive to people. So I guess there is that. And
there's there's the female power thing. Like, she is the powerful central figure, and she's a woman, and she's not reliant on men, like quite the opposite.
Yeah, that's right.
It is quite a powerful female character and women's film, I guess, feminist film in a way.
What was the meaning that you took away, if there is a meaning, of the Pyro Mania that was going on in there? Like, she gets hold of basically a flamethrower that shoots napalm, and they even describe how you make napalm, and then she goes out and just burns like playgrounds and stoplights and trash bins and things like, what's that all about? What was your take?
Look, I didn't have a really good take on it, other than it just being a metaphor for her destructive power.
That's a pretty good take. Yep.
Yeah, and I didn't take much of it throughout the film, but I really liked it at the start. I thought the opening image of the traffic lights on fire spoke to me a little bit.
That tells you who this character is right from the start, right? And you can kind of tell it's her.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could tell it's her, but I felt this is a world where in chaos, and I just found it interesting that the traffic lights went. So one was on fire, but then the traffic lights went from red to green, so almost indicating that the world is still going.
Wow!
While there's still chaos.
Yeah, great. I like that.
I don't know. I've probably gone too deep into that, but I liked it at the start, and then I just started thinking.
You very easily could have gone. I think you may have gone too deep with that, but I still love it, and it could be entirely intentional, and I think it's great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, I've gone too deep.
That's good. Keep going deep. I love it. So, and how did you take the whole sort of dance theme running through it? Did you enjoy all the little kind of music videos and rooftop dance scenes and stuff like that were kind of scattered through this film?
Yes and no. I think I expected something different. I thought we were going to see a film that was almost all dance.
Me too. The trailer tells you that.
Yeah.
The trailer gives you the sense that this whole film is almost like a La La Land with a strange Hispanic bent to it. Like,
yeah, I thought the dancing was almost incidental to this, and wasn't really a massive part of it for me.
A sort of almost like a character, part of the character's description, as opposed to like a major theme in the story in any way.
Well, it wasn't a bad.
No, I didn't mind it.
I thought it added.
It added accent, like an accent to the film, or like some punctuation throughout it that was interesting. The music is so tied to these dance scenes, and then plays part as the score throughout the film as well. And I really liked the music. That was one of the standouts for me. I thought the music the whole way through was great. and added so much to the film, as well as that sort of really busy, jostling Valparaiso like streetscape that's running the whole way through as well, which is great.
I was so taken with the story structure that the music I liked, but probably wasn't the main thing for me either.
Yeah, right. I thought Gael, Garcia, Bernal was great in this, although he is kind of playing, if you've seen Mozart in the Jungle, he's basically he's playing almost the same character. It's very, very similar. So I've seen him do something like this before.
Yeah.
A super, like an uber self-involved music director in that show, and in this he's a dance director or choreographer. Like it's and equally as self-involved. So
I haven't seen that, but I really find him fun to watch.
Me too.
I remember him. I first came across him in, what is it, Y Tu Mama Tambien, and I thought he stole the show in that. And I haven't seen enough of him since, but so I really enjoyed watching him in this, and thought he was pretty powerful.
Yeah, I agree. He's getting, as he gets older. One thing I noticed when I was watching this, particularly when I was watching him next to an actress that's a lot younger, is he's getting this strange thing that older men in Hollywood get, like as they sort of
I can't wait for what you're going to say here. I've got no idea where you're going.
It's just this incredible face thing that happens. I think they use whatever they do, whatever work on their face that they all these old male actors are doing.
Yeah.
They get like these fully like chiseled, like well moisturized kind of angular features with deeply tanned, and their eyes are somehow shockingly blue against that, and their hair is just like perfectly grayed a little bit, and just like like just coiffed over perfectly, and then they just walk around with that face and I've started to notice that a bunch of the older kind of Hollywood dudes all have the same things going on. They've got the same face. It's like they've signed up somewhere and got that face.
He's always been pretty. Yeah, he's always had an interesting chiseled face, though.
He has.
So I don't know. I'd be interested to see if that's.
I'm going to Google a bunch of faces later and send them your way. It's going to be weird, but we have an excuse, right? This episode, people know what we're talking about. If your wife's asking,
why have you got all these older male actor faces on your phone?
They're all so handsome.
He is. I like him. He had a couple of really standout scenes, I think, and I think he was my favourite part of the film, as far as performance-wise. I like the main actress too. But
I thought they were both good, but he's standout.
He was usual. That scene where he basically gives the big speech at the dance studio and explains their whole situation to the whole room.
Yes.
I thought that was fascinating.
There were some great scenes, particularly in the first half of the film, but peppered throughout, where so his character Gaston and Emma are both trying to have a sensible discussion about their son, who, or anything actually. It happens a bunch of times, and it almost always descends into them just abusing each other with completely straight faces, like there is zero emotion going on in this scene, and they're just leveling the most like just soul destroying abuse at each other, not reacting at all. It's incredible.
It's just part of their relationship.
Yep.
It's such a cruel film sometimes, isn't it?
It's devastating, and yet neither of them react at all.
Yeah. Well, she certainly. Well, no. They probably both react a little.
Yeah, but it's so muted. It's not. You're right. They are, and I guess that's a good performance. You can see that underneath, each blow stings, and they're just determined not to show it. I just can't imagine anyone being that way, though. You have to be a particularly self-involved, cold person to be able to pull that sort of stuff off.
Yeah, you can see it sting him. I think you see that
more than her.
Also.
Yeah, which it also could just be like acting skills. His performance is really great. So,
well, she's just an enigma throughout. So
that's right.
You don't know what she's thinking.
No, you don't.
About anybody.
No, she doesn't give you. She doesn't give you much.
Yeah.
You know, purposefully so. But then again, sometimes I imagine if you put a slightly better, like someone who's just a slightly better actor with some more serious chops, and not saying anything against her really, but you could put someone in who would just destroy that role. You know,
or destroy the role, but not be able to dance at all.
Yes, she can really dance.
Probably wouldn't have mattered. Wouldn't have mattered.
Probably wouldn't have, because the dance, you can tell she's good at it, right? Yeah. But it's pretty weird dancing in general. It's not dancing that you see on Dancing with the Stars ever or anything like that.
Dancing with the Stars, that's your reference. It's not dancing that you'd see. It's not of the caliber of Dancing with the Stars.
Certainly not of that caliber.
No. They're good point, Baron. That's a good point. Speaking of cruelty, like that crazy bunch of, we'll call them sisters, but a couple of them actually are her sisters, yeah? Of the big throng of...
Yeah, well, I don't know if the actual group of dancers, if that's any of them are her sister, but I know her sister's like there quite often in that little extended group. But the dancers, was one of those her sisters, did you think?
I thought the one with the fringe... was a sister, but
they do some kind of sexual stuff together later, though. So,
well, there's that running all through it.
There is. You're right.
This
everyone's
weird,
up for grabs, right? Including the adopted son. It sounds like at one point.
The adopted son, the sisters, the mother. Even the way she leans on her mother is similar to how she engages with the lawyer. It's really freaky.
It's a little disturbing. It's true. And also Gael's character just seems to be cool with all of that. You know, he's got this vibe.
It's a different world, isn't it?
Which we haven't really talked about. This is a Chilean film.
Yeah.
And it's in a particular town called Valparaiso.
Yeah.
Which Edith and I went to actually.
Really?
And it has we went there back in 2005, I'd say. It has this. And they have like the cable cars in the film, and they give you a little sense of the terrain, but it's basically like a bay that is surrounded by cliffs, and the housing is built all up the cliffs up to the top, and the really wealthy people live at the top of the cliff, and it's seemingly like the poorer people live at the bottom. That's the vibe you get from this place.
Interesting.
And when you travel up these cable cars, feels like you're literally traveling up the classes. And vice versa. It's an interesting place. It has a real sort of grungy underbelly to it, and that's what these kids feel like that are in this, or the young dancers.
Yeah, it sounded like you were explaining the social hierarchy of Parasite there.
Yes,
which was very similar.
Yeah, good point.
Is there
I found that part of the world really weird. It's a strange place to travel through. It's got an odd feeling to it, like it's been lost in time a little bit.
Is there much sense of place in the film? Like, did you feel you recognised the vibe of it?
Yeah, loads. Or just the whole layout of the place, and that sort of those sort of grungy, derelict-looking streets is how that whole town feels. Yeah, it was surprising to me when we travelled through, like how much of a presence that town has, and it comes through in this film.
Yeah. Jeez, okay, got to go there. We've been to Chile and Guatemala so far. So we
really,
no, in this festival.
Oh, in this festival, I thought you were saying that you and Wendy had. Yeah, you're right. We have. Yes, a South American tour is on the cards. Well, actually, indeed. Guatemala is central, so we have to do both. Bummer.
Yeah, I'm there.
If you have to. Yeah.
What else is worth talking about?
We've talked about most of the things that really stood out to me. I think the winding, meandering sort of dance video-ish vibe of it threw me a little bit. Although it does have like probably one of the wildest and actually also very successful like sex montages that I've ever seen in film. Like it feels like it goes for about 2 minutes, and it's intercut all the people that Emma has seduced, and they've got like blue and red lights going, and it's just kind of artistic and wild and beautifully edited and intercut the way she's moving between all these different partners at the same time and just bending them to her will. Crazy.
I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it before, and actually it's I think one of the standout parts of the film.
Yeah. And it was so restrained on the sex stuff up to that point. Like I remember when she's seducing the lawyer who's the mum, she basically does the seduction, but then they cut to them just
canoodling.
Playing table tennis. That's right.
That's right.
They completely subverted it. So where you'd normally move to the sex scene, it moves to them playing table tennis. So similar things throughout. And then this one, late in the film, they just hit you between the eyeballs with it. But it really had a reason for being there, didn't it?
It did. Yeah, it really did. Because that intercutting of all of these people all kind of having sex and then climaxing kind of all around the same time really drives the point open to you, and it's something that you haven't seen before, like so it's fresh on two levels. It's great.
I was feeling sorry for everyone because there's some real emotions caught up there, especially with I keep calling it the lawyer. I'm not sure what the character's name is, but
no, I haven't written it down either.
Like she was falling pretty hard, I think.
Big time. Once you know what the film is, like none of it really surprised me. But then the bit that did really get to me was that first of all, was that she had this well laid out heist plan, right? And then when she finally gets into the classroom with Polo, the adopted son who she's given away, her grand plan is to just grab him by the hand and say, come on, let's go, and just run out of the school with him. Like, that seemed like you could do that without any of the other prep. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could have done the heist without any of the heists if that was all you were going to do in the end,
Let me just say firstly that's a very valid criticism. I thought much the same. Did you? Yeah. Just hang out the front of the school and just take him.
Just grab him.
Like they do in every other creepy movie.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't have to be the teacher, give your details, be trackable. Just steal him in a white van. Yeah,
or a white van.
You'd use a black one.
Okay. I would go black personally. That's fine. White's good too. The white might sort of blind them with some dazzling light and they might not see your plate or something.
Or a ute like in Room.
A ute's good, yes. Open the door. Guy puts the bag over the head. That's it. That's what you have to do. You don't have to seduce anyone. It's really straightforward. Yeah.
So are you going to make a positive point? I interrupted you.
Then the positive point was the twist where then she rocks up. She basically steals the kid. They hang out for a great day. And then she takes the kid to the new adoptive parents who she's seduced, the lawyer and the fireman. And they just make up. Just sort of have a little chat about how messed up this is, and there's some tension, but the end of it is just like, can't we just all get along and both raise young Polo and as all of ours, and then next thing you know, they're all in the kitchen together having breakfast.
You liked that?
I liked it. It subverted the whole thing. Like, I just was not expecting. I was at first disappointed by the theft of Polo after all of this work, and then I was really surprised that then the next thing she does is just rock up to these other folks and admit the whole thing, and then they all just get along, and that's the end. Like, I thought that whole thing really threw me, but was in a good way. Like, I went for it. I went for the ride with that one.
Likewise, I feel like I've been saying how much I enjoyed the film, but I think up to that point, I was ready to either love or hate the film, depending on where it went. And that scene where all five of them are just there in the street, I thought that was tremendous.
Yeah.
It was so muted, and there was all the confusion that we've just been through for the whole thing. Suddenly, when you see them all there, you're thinking about all the storylines. Oh my goodness, what must he be thinking? What's she thinking? What are they going to say to each other? And it's so confusing for them all that you can almost see them just decide that this is all too hard. The best thing to do is she's she's got us under her spell.
Yep.
We've just got to go with whatever she says. And the next minute they seem like they're all living together.
Yeah. Now, do I have it right? My brain is trying to catch up to the end of this and remember what we watched only yesterday. But do they all have those prolonged stares at each other right at the end of the film where there's meaning that kind of comes across?
Those
meaningful stares.
Yeah, yes. There was one that was particularly good, I thought.
Yeah.
Which one?
No, I don't know which one you're talking about. What was your particularly good one?
Well, in what I think was the moment of humour for the whole film was when it cuts from Gael. So it goes from him, who we know from other clues, could be bisexual potentially.
Right.
So it cuts from him, who's looking lost and like he's been drawn into this river, this Emma River. He looks over to the fireman, and that's the only relationship that hasn't yet been explored.
That didn't even occur to me. That's awesome.
And I just thought the placing of that.
Is there a little eyebrow or something? Is there anything?
I'm not sure that there is.
And any remind me ofs for this?
One that I can't remember the name of, but it goes to the theme of the adopting the child and then giving them away, which is almost a taboo subject in itself, and quite an interesting theme to explore.
It is, because something you never hear about but you imagine happens.
Must happen.
Yep.
It reminded me of a Melbourne Theatre Company play. I can't remember the name of it. It was a comedy, and one with song, and one of the songs was all about a couple who had rescued a dog and then were stuck with the dog, and then the song was "You Can't Return a Rescue Dog." So that moral dilemma where they've sort of been big heroes rescuing the dog, and then it's so impossible, then they can't go back on that. So that just made me think thematically it's kind of the same, except they did return him.
And I think for the first half of the film, you're just trying to figure out what actually happened. Like, why did they return this kid? Was he as bad as they said? Was it all them? Are they just terrible parents? And you can't really tell what's going on.
Do you ever know?
Probably not ever. You're right. I feel like you stop caring as much in the second half, because it becomes about the heist. It becomes about getting him back. And the first half is very much like trying to catch up and figure out where we are and what's actually going on in the world.
He seemed like a decent kid. Like
he wasn't fine.
He didn't seem all that important to the whole thing, really, did he?
It was more like the story of him was more important, right?
Like
than the actual character.
When he finally appears, he doesn't talk for ages.
No.
And then eventually she says, "Oh, so sorry, I did a few bad things." And I did some bad things too, Mum. It's all a bit anticlimactic, that bit.
Yeah,
but I didn't think it needed to be anything else, really.
Have you seen anything else by Pablo Larraín, the director? He's apparently Chile's greatest director. That's what it has on his own IMDb, which is interesting. Really? Yeah.
No, I don't think I have. I looked him up before and was surprised at how much English language stuff he'd done.
Yeah, right. Seems to have made a lot of films.
I assume it was English language, but yeah, I thought that there were a few names of films that I knew of anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
One was Neruda, about, I think it's the poet, the Chilean poet, Pablo Neruda.
Okay.
Starring Garcia Bernal as well.
There you go. I hadn't heard of that one. Well, there you go. Probably the only last sort of remind me of for me was that the fashion and the music and all of that kind of craziness of this film really reminded me of Luc Besson's work.
Okay. Anything in particular?
Well, I was thinking of Fifth Element feels almost like the sci-fi version of this film, like it has all the crazy costumes and the music's really upbeat and kind of dancey next to a lot of the film. And the other thing I was thinking of was The Big Blue, which is another fave of mine of Luc Besson's. Has that kind of European wildness to it in the story of the people when they're young, and I really got a sense of that from just the way this group of girls go around Valparaiso, you know. So,
who directed Run Lola Run? Like, there was a bit of that about it too, you know, with the pace of things and the crazy hair.
Totally. He also directed Perfume, which is a fave of mine. Oh, Tom Tykwer. I was completely...
Tom Tykwer, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Or Tykwer.
Yeah. There was... this is almost ridiculous, but Footloose.
Chilean edition.
Chilean Footloose. Because in Footloose... the dancing is just a metaphor for breaking out against a society that lives by social norms, and, you know, the argument for kids to have freedom to do whatever they want, not to do whatever they want, but just to have a bit of freedom and escape. And I think that was probably, if anything, that's what the dancing kind of meant in this film.
I think you're right. And Chile has that history of fascism kind of looming over it. And I think the young people all their parents lived through that. So they probably do feel like they, you know, need to break out and go wild and rebel against their sort of very strict parents who have been through all sorts of hell, really.
Rebel against John Lithgow.
That's right.
There was even like a sub battle there, wasn't there, between different genres of different music styles?
Yeah.
Where Gaston was going for the more classical stuff and bagging the kids who love reggaeton.
Yeah, that's right. I love it. And did you get a sense this was a contemporary piece, but like it's not set 10 years ago or something? I mean, for a moment with all the fashion, I thought maybe, but then at the same time I was thinking, well, Valparaiso and the whole vibe of that place feels like that's what people are wearing today, you know?
Yeah, that's where I think I'm about 20 years too old to make a sensible comment.
Yeah.
And in the wrong part of the world, so I don't know what they're listening to
on.
or what the place is meant to look like.
True. That's true.
It's pretty timeless though. You feel like that could be any time from the 80s till now.
Yep, absolutely. Anything else you want to say about Emma, closing night film?
Just that I thought it was a ripper to close on. I thought the whole festival, it started with a nice quiet bang with First Cow, and then ended with a more full-on bang with Emma.
A bit more of a riotous film.
A riotous bang.
Yeah, I like it.
I really rated it.
Okay, good. I'm mixed. I don't feel strongly one way or the other. There are things about it that I like, and there are things about it that I dislike. But there's no love or hate there, you know? I just feel like it's a good film. You know what I mean? There you go.
It's probably the sort that you could watch again to pick up all the clues. That said, as much as I loved it, I don't think I'm going to watch it again because it is some effort. And again, like we've said before, I think I'll be going for some Hollywood blockbuster next.
After this, so I guess we should just say this pretty much wraps up MIFF as well. We've got one more film which is like a special edition extra on the end of MIFF, but this is the closing night film, and we have watched 10 films for this festival, done 10 episodes. Crazy. Yeah,
more than we'd done before that.
Yes.
So we've now got more MIFF special episodes than we do normal episodes.
That's right. And it's been a real ride, and I've really enjoyed it. And I can't wait for Austin Film Festival to do something like this again. It's going to be great.
Until then, I guess, thank you, MIFF.
Yeah.
And see you next episode.